Well, welcome to the last day of the fulfillment formula, where we are discussing how to achieve with ease. And I hope you can see there are so many possibilities for you to feel energized to get results and not burn out or overwhelm, like we were talking about in the first couple of days. And at the end of today, we'll talk more about how to keep your energy flowing and to feel supported along the way so you can flow through your day. I think that's what many of us want as high achievers. When we're flowing through our day, it feels so good, and then it fuels our next steps. So, as a reminder, just so that you remember, that was just yesterday. I was going to say last time we talked, which was yesterday, we were more and more connected to your truth. And we explored your deepest desires and what mattered most to you overall in your life. And for today, we'll take all of that information we've been gathering about understanding yourself better, and we'll begin to create a plan based on a framework I use for developing desired outcomes, or what I call goals. And the best part is you'll be excited to pursue them. So we'll start with the overall theme for today, which I like to think of taking your vision and all about the information you know that is true for you and turning it into your victory, because you're setting goals with your heart. Again, based on what matters most to you and your personal values. And that's what's going to lead to feeling energized and motivated, and like you're moving forward in a natural way versus forcing yourself to take a next step. And then what you'll walk away with today is also a roadmap to get the results for success that, again, feels fulfilling, because your plan now aligns your dreams and your desires with actionable next steps. So that's where heart aligning goals come in. Now, before we dive into creating these desired outcomes or goals, I thought I'd review some basic tenets that can support you in achieving goals or desired outcomes. You may have heard these before. I feel like it's much more mainstream to talk about how you can be successful with your goals, but I want to make sure you know them and to remind you. First, it's very important to be clear, because if you're ambivalent, you'll get ambivalent results. Or another way to say that is results you don't really want. So that's why being true to yourself and coming from this calm place of love can really help you. Next, writing down your goals is helpful. Evidence shows that your brain can adapt to intentions you set. So writing down your goals increases your commitment and your chances of achieving them and gaining success. So speaking of commitment, the commitment matters because research shows as well that just having clear goals actually makes you feel happier. Isn't that amazing? So you just writing them down and having them will help. So setting the goals and then pursuing them can affect how you feel and your happiness, regardless if you attain them or not. And the idea is, if you commit to an objective, you're more likely to enjoy the journey toward achieving it. You're not questioning, wondering, and going back to that idea of being ambivalent. And as you know, when you're enjoying the journey or your life and you feel good, you're more likely to attain a better outcome and get just closer to any result you want. Lastly, it's important to create a repeatable system to support you. That's what helps keep your momentum going. Willpower isn't enough. I've tried it. I'm sure you've tried it. And what you really need is to have a process, because when you focus on the process and not necessarily the outcome, you'll end up feeling less stressed when you're not immediately attaining the goal. So whenever you hear that term, detach from the outcome, that's why. Because if you're always thinking, did I get the job? Did I find the partner, the romantic partner I wanted? you're not calm anymore, are you? You're ruminating and worrying. So I just want to bring that up. Next, I wanted to help you see, like, you have a lot of information already about how to be clear and develop heart aligning goals. So I just want to remind you of the tools, and this might be a new approach for you, but it really can help you live your truth. And it can help you just get what you desire in that, like I said, in a new way. So another reminder, you want to start with your wheel of life or your life plan and the breakdown of your priorities by season. Remember, the wheel helped us gain some clarity to help us decide where to put your energy. The life plan helped with calming that inner voice and that side of you that's telling you what you should do, that side of you that might be that insecure overachiever that's telling you to just keep going, going, going. And again, it's important to have focus areas so you don't spread yourself too thin. When you're making progress, that'll feel good and you'll motivate yourself and fuel your next steps. So remember to narrow down to 3 focus areas per season or quarter, whatever feels good to you. And if you have one big goal, just focus on that. You can revisit any of these tools whenever you set new goals, or you can even put a reminder in your calendar and set a little retreat for yourself to revisit these every quarter. Next, it's important to remember what your values are of your highest self. So we didn't dive into this, but if you think about it, your highest self, mine was named Sunny. She has certain values. She wants to be energetic and warm and light. And staying in touch with that is really helpful. What you don't want is to have your insecure overachievers values show up. So it's good to know all of yourself and who you are, but we don't want that side of you that doubts yourself and is always trying to prove yourself leading your life. She or he is the side that holds you back because you think you might fail, or that side of you that really is just, it's trying to protect you. So it's not a bad thing, but it can exaggerate the worry in your mind. So again, try to focus on that side of you that knows so much more is possible for you. And that when you focus on your gifts and talents and all the possibilities, you will be inspired to be your best healthy, striving self. Again, in any case, it's really important to know both sides and accept both sides. That'll give you more energy. You just don't want to be resistant of what is. And with awareness, you can make better choices and be fueled for your next steps, like I said, in a healthier way. And then, in case you didn't have time last night, I just thought I'd reprise this. Where are you now? How do you close the gap? Are you feeling clear? Do you have a focus, or do you feel like I have to do all these different things? Because that clarity can support you in knowing what next steps to take. And same thing for, are you feeling the doubt, or can you connect with your highest self? I gave you some follow-up exercises to do that as well. And then lastly, make sure you're honoring your values, not other people's. And today's exercise, where we're going to dive into creating heart aligning goals, will help you do that. Remember, when you evaluate yourself, there is no judgment. You can just have some awareness of, okay, I'm implementing some things, and it can give you a clue when you do this kind of evaluation of where you need more work or any patterns you might be noticing, and you can make any connections for further insights. So now we want to put all this information you uncovered into a framework and then develop the plan. So again, you have really 4 valuable pieces of information: what's possible for you, who you are at your best, your values, not what matters to other people, and what makes you happy, and your priorities, where to put your efforts. Something else I work with my clients on is understanding their unique strategies for success mentioned that before. We didn't have time to get into it during these trainings, but just keep that in mind. And then once we put all this information together in a framework and we integrate it, you are going to have more of a life you love. And we're going to do that because we're creating something similar to SMART goals. I'm sure you've heard of that before, where it's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. I'm laughing because I've changed those. So it's so ingrained in me, the new way I like to think about it, that I'm like, wait, what is the old way? So all those are great, but I ended up changing the R to resonant. So again, these are goals that are based on your values that resonate with you. And then the T, I like to make that thrilling, something that excites you. Because we already have the S for specific. We can add timing there if we want. And timing could be something that inspires you, but you don't want to get caught up in it. And now with the new approach I'll show you, and the next steps, we're going to create the overarching goal with what I call mini goals that, again, you'll want to take because you're leading with happiness and what makes you feel more joyful. So as we go through this process, I do want to remind you to connect with your highest self. If you have a memento that you chose, for me, it was my sun pendant, you just want to have that in place. Sorry, I should have mentioned you could have brought that today, but just have it with you when you're going through any kind of process like this so you stay in the vibration of your highest self. Next, here is the framework. We're putting everything together. Now, down the left, you'll see that you could put the different areas of your life. You will want to pick out the most important based on your life plan matrix that you want to honor at this point in your life. Then what we'll do is across the top, we're going to add your top 5 values. So you'll see those. I just picked these. So let's say in my example, we have love, laughter, connectedness, energy, and accomplishments. And when you're listing the life areas on the left, ideally you start the top one with the highest priority. Just again, any way to support you in staying focused is really good. So let's say we're going to use career as an example. Maybe you're searching for a new career, you're building a business, maybe you're looking to switch or advance in your current career. Back in the day, if I was developing a goal around this, I might say something like get a promotion, look for a job, something like that, that honestly just wasn't that exciting to me, but it's what we knew how to do back then. It felt like a should or a have to. And next I might come up with something like, okay, if I'm going to do that, I should network, which is smart and logical, right? But again, I don't know, it just didn't excite me to think about going out and networking. So with this new approach, we're going to create, like I said, something I hope you find more inspiring, and also more energizing next steps. And the way to do that is, again, notice we're getting clear on what you want, the new job transition, whatever that is. You're starting with the what, and now we need to infuse the why it's true for you, so it can be inspiring and energizing. So here's where it all comes together and where you can get excited about next steps. To focus your efforts and make a meaningful desired outcome or a goal that aligns with your heart, you want to use this framework and go back and pick 2 to 3 values that you think, gosh, if I honor them in a particular life area, in this case, career, I know I would feel happier at this point in my life. I just know it would improve my satisfaction level and it'll help me get clear and prioritize even further. So if you're doing this for yourself, you can go back and look at your top 5 values and check the boxes. And in my example, you might think, okay, if I was going to help with my career, I would focus on connections, energy, and career accomplishments, but maybe not laughter and love. Doesn't mean you don't want to laugh, but it's just not the priority, right? So just check those three. And again, I know we'd want all of our values honored, but it's just tough sometimes to have that clarity and have that honored to a deeper degree in every area of our life. And remember, what you're checking are the deepest motivations that drive you the most. These are not typical ones. So if you're doing this, I thought you could just take a minute now to check or think about two to three values you'd like to honor in this particular area of your life. I'll be quiet while you think about it. When you're ready, you can just start. Then basically the next step would be to explore what these values look like and mean in your life. So what would it look like? Paint the picture of, gosh, if I had more connection feeling in my career, what would that look like? Where you are now or where you're moving to? How would it show up if you're feeling more energy in your career? What kind of accomplishments do you want? And when I'm working with clients, I also dive into, as I mentioned, a strategy for success. So you could use that to paint a picture of how you want it to be. So if we've worked together in the past, you can refer back to your strategies for success. If we haven't worked together in the past, you can just think about a strategy you've used that has helped you to achieve goals. Then you want to capture the sentiment of these values and that strategy when it comes to your career. So I, in my case, would consider what it can look like to experience connections, more energy, and have accomplishments in my current career. And like I said, I begin to paint that picture. So a desired outcome for me could be my dream career energizes me as I make connections and achieve success. So you can see it's overarching. It includes the different values. And to me, it sounds a lot more enjoyable than looking for a job or asking for a promotion. So why don't we take a minute now to see what you can come up with if you were painting the picture for yourself of a desired outcome or a goal. How could you summarize this, bring this all together? Your life area, which values to prioritize, a strategy for success, and what it would look like to honor these values. And you might need more time to do this, but at least it's a start. Does anyone have any questions at this point about what's coming up for them? About putting something together like this? We'll have time later too if you want to wait. I just want to check in. Basically, I just hope you can see that you're building your desired outcomes again because they're based on your values. They're going to be more inspiring, and you'll develop some next steps you'll actually want to take, which I'll show you how. So after you've picked the values you want to honor and you developed your desired outcome, you can ask yourself, maybe there's some values that you chose that are already present in that current life area. And then there's some that are clearly not. And so for the ones that are present, or you're already demonstrating some of these values in your career, that's great. This can help point you in the direction you want to take next. So again, looking at our example, maybe you already honor the value of career accomplishment, and that could look like you're constantly striving. And for some of the people who were on earlier in the week, I know we were talking about we're just working all the time and a lot. So you could still want to honor that, but recognize that you're doing that. So it's fine. Might not need to put any more energy there. But maybe you're not as focused on connecting with your coworkers or your network, and that could mean personally or professionally. So you might say, okay, I want to be more connected. And what are some ways that I can do that? Maybe that could look like you grab lunch once a week with a colleague or someone in your network. Again, it could even be someone you know personally. So you can see that an inspired next step could be grabbing lunch once a week. Now, again, I want to reinforce that when you're developing these desired outcomes, it can include honoring all three values, but you might not need to put as much action or effort behind the ones you're already honoring. And what you might notice is the next step of connection seems very similar to networking, but connecting is more aligned with your truth. And therefore, that's why it's more inspiring. I often talk to my clients about using conscious languaging. So for me, the thought of connecting with someone really gets me excited, and I want to do that. And putting it in a format like grabbing lunch is fun for me. So you could see how that would feel different than maybe going to a certain event. So now here's the beginning of what I call your life plan with desired outcomes and energizing next steps. So we're going to quickly recap. Again, this seems oversimplified, but once you follow this process, it really helps keep you going. So for my desired outcome, it's my dream career, energizes me as I make connections and achieve success. And my inspired next step is to grab lunch once a week with someone who can support me in my job search, or you could fill in the blank with how that continues on for you. So doesn't this sound like more fun than looking for a job and networking? Yeah. I'm going to pause here for a couple minutes because I want you to take some time to develop just 3 inspired next steps for the desired outcome that you developed. And again, I say 3 because I want you to stay focused. Doesn't mean you won't do anything else. And if it can be something you do consistently, that helps too. So I'll be quiet when you do that. Now, after doing this, you might go back and change your mind and shift things around. But again, with clarity and taking some action, you can make an informed choice about what's working and what's not working. So now again, you have all this information to help you create your unique roadmap. And you can be more clear than ever and committed on your journey. Remember when we started this training session on Monday, we were talking about how if you can see someone else's path laid out before you, then it's if you could clearly see it, it's somebody else's path. So now you're creating it, but it's with clarity coming from you. Here's just how it can all come together. I like to look at this as one big life plan. You know, if I was doing this for myself, I have 3 of these in a row for the different life areas. And when you have a plan, like we've been talking about, you're just more likely to experience what you desire, or even better. So I hope what you can see with this new approach of building your desired outcomes based on your values, you're creating things you're excited to do and next steps you actually take versus ones that we think we'll take, and then we just put those in the corner. Let's not look at those again. And again, you could revisit these periodically to make sure you're moving forward, because sometimes the life area might change, or you might still stay in career next season, but what you want to accomplish might change. So along with using this format, this framework for different life areas, I do want to make sure that you keep checking in with yourself and look at the activities you're choosing to do in your life. Are they aligning with your highest self? If not, ask yourself, why are you doing them? So that's really important on this journey. Is it the insecure overachiever choosing to do them, or you at your best? So make sure you're tying into that. Also, you might need structure as you're setting up these inspired next steps. So this is what I was talking about at the beginning of today's training session, which is you can come up with this nice plan, but if you don't have a system or process to support you, you might not follow through. So what you could do is put a reminder in your calendar once a week to actually schedule the lunches. And I know this might seem overly simplified, but if it's in your calendar, you're more likely to do it. And you want to treat anything you put in your calendar like a doctor's appointment. You don't just skip it because you don't feel like going. Maybe some people do, but ideally you don't do that. So I just want to remind you that having a system, a process, some way to support you, I call it a structure for success, can really be the key to making all of this happen. So as I recap, I just want you to see how this all comes together, where hopefully you can see how these steps can help you be what I like to call that happier high achiever, where you're experiencing aligned success, but it's without the pressure or the overwhelm or that part of you that gets you to the burnout, right? You can go from someone who's trying to be like other people to fit in and proving themselves to uncovering possibilities for your life. You can go from honoring values of other people, your friends, family, and society, or the definition of success that lives out there, to discovering your values and your why. And you go from doing shoulds and have tos to finding your focus. And ultimately, you go from someone who's exhausted and overwhelmed and stressed to being that happier high achiever, because you have the clarity. And I know that sometimes, let's be realistic, we have to do things we don't want to do, but there's a way to look at that where you can either outsource it if it has to happen, or you can find a way to align it to one of your values. You'll be inspired to do it next. So that's some extra work I do with my clients as well. So just consider as you're going through this process. And I'm curious if anyone has questions at this point or noticing a challenge that's coming up or an insight, something that inspires you to move forward. Are you feeling more confident? Are you noticing some calm? What is coming up for you as we're going at this point of our journey?
Rosie, I have something I'm thinking about the words that I'm utilizing for example, family. My hope is to have more connection and communication. Is my hope, it seems a little lame.
So as your desired next step, you want what was it? Communication and connection?
Connection and
Yeah.
communication.
So is there a third? It's fine if there's not, but I'm just curious, is there a third value that you'd like to honor?
Yeah, let me see. Well, maybe passion.
Okay. Can you paint a picture for me? Maybe just give me a sentence for each one, what like experiencing more passion looks like with your family, experiencing more connection and communication.
Right now, I feel a lot of obligation because my mother's older, and my son is, we're looking at
You have a
college.
lot doing.
There's a lot of obligation around it. So I guess, and also there are a lot of family members I don't stay in touch with because the weeks just keep going by and by. So thinking about the holidays coming up and that type of thing. So I guess just making contact with family members who I haven't, I think about often, but I haven't taken the time to reach out really.
Can I ask you a follow-up question? And this might be off path a little bit, but when you think about the time you're spending with your son to put together the college applications and visits and whatnot, how does that align with one of your values? Do you feel like there's bonding on some of those trips? And I know it could be stressful, so I know it is a have to, but is there a way that you can uncover it actually reinforcing a value of yours? For example.
I do think there is a component of that for sure. I mean, it's generally relaxed and collaborative and, what do you think? What do you think? What about this? What about that? So it's smooth sailing, but it's more, I guess it's purposeful. There's a reason we're working on these things. I'm thinking more about relationships that are less purposeful connections, more just checking in.
So what I'm hearing then is, okay, with your mom and your son, it's like, I know I have to do that. It's part of my life. I was hearing the word obligation, so I thought you were trying to weave that in. But what I'm hearing you say is that's taking up a lot of energy. So, but you also want to give energy to other people in your family. And that's the part that you want to reconnect with. Am I hearing you right? Okay. So maybe, and this could be a scenario where for a season, meaning until your son gets through all the college stuff, the focus just has to be on him and your mom. I'm just being realistic.
Right.
However, I always like to see if there's an opportunity to experience, the kind of relationships in all areas of your life that you want. So I wonder if we just highlight, I'm going to play with this. I'm just writing some notes. Something around my extended family. So you're saying just being in touch with them, reaching out once in a while would feel good to you. And what would you get out of it? So you reach out to a cousin, I'm making this up, or someone, and how would that fuel you or energize you?
I think it would energize me just by having the interaction instead of having the months continue to pass without having connection.
Okay.
Part of it is that, I realize it's not always convenient for people to just pop into a conversation and get caught up, or even a phone call. And it seems like it's you're infringing on people's privacy and time because because we're all so busy. So
I know
I would
it's,
just, yeah,
well, I'm thinking, what if you just kept it light and said, my family connections energize me? Because like you said, that's what you'll get more out of it. And I'm keeping it broader because, thinking about with your son, like, yeah, this can just be a time where you're making special memories, even though it's tough situation. I have found sometimes the toughest times in my life is when I've experienced the most love and connection with family and friends. So my family connections energize me. And then you can have inspired next steps. That looks like once a week, I'm reaching out to someone, but being detached from the outcome, meaning if you don't hear back, we don't take it personally. Cousin, Wilma
yeah,
didn't write me
which I
back.
don't. Which I don't. I might not even remember. I'm like, oh,
Well, and that's why I wonder if we even add something. I just love the comment you said about relaxed. So I'm going to just, maybe I could add that into the desired outcome. Like, my relaxed family connections energize me. Again, conscious languaging that
right.
reminds you of it. This may sound silly, but another quick example of where I use this process in my life was going through a remodel of my condo. And everyone would come up to me like, oh, that's so exciting. Like, is it? It seems stressful, scary, a lot of money, a lot of time. I don't know what I'm doing. Do I really need a backsplash? Can't I just have a wall? And so I'm sharing that because I went through this process and I really got connected to how I wanted my environment to inspire me and how I wanted to have a sense of community where I felt good inviting people to my home. And once I went from, I have to remodel my place because it was just in bad shape. It was really, I have to remodel my place. I went to, my home inspires my work and invites people for joyful times. And guess what? I read that every morning before I looked at the text messages from my contractor saying, did you figure out the plumbing situation? Did you? And I'm like, no, I'm not a plumber. I don't know what needs to go behind the shower. So I would literally read my statement, visualize what my place would look like after it was completed. And every morning that inspired me, it calmed my mind and it inspired me to take that next step, to reach out to whoever I needed to figure out the plumbing situation or fill in the blank back then. So again, I know that might seem like a silly example, but hopefully you can make it relevant to yourself. And that's why I like this idea of my relaxed family connections energize me, because that's what you really want. You don't want another thing on your to-do list, because
Right.
people pick up on our energy. So if you're reaching out in a way where you're tight gripping energy, like, why aren't they reaching out back to me, getting back to me? That's not going to feel good to them or to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't worry about them reaching back out to me. I'm more worried about interrupt, with a phone call. I used to pick up the call, but it's never a good time to talk. That's why I always say, is it a good time to talk? And this, it's kind of a habit to ask that nowadays because, texting is,
Right. It's
I
the
don't
new
know.
way.
I don't worry about people not getting back to me. The point is to
Okay.
kind of maintain some sort of something, just to get some sort of connection, just, hey, I'm thinking about you. You don't have to overthink it. I guess I just need to do it.
I think it's the relaxed piece. And then what you're noticing is your negative self-talk showing up. And what
Mhm.
we talked about, was it yesterday? I forget now. I think it's Shalvana, with the idea that you're responsible for them, for knowing when is a good time for them to talk or not, or how they feel. That's not your
Right.
job.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm glad. That was a great example. Um, all right. So let's make sure, I want to make sure you have the resources and more information that can support you with all of this. Unless there's any other questions at this point, we can answer some more at the end, but I just want to pull up So again, I hope you can see that there are benefits that you can experience with this new way of living. And again, what I like to call aligned success. Not things you have to do or go for, but a success where you get results, where you feel fulfillment. And I feel like the biggest benefit is you get to have a life you love. And specifically, when we break it down, you're much more clear on the what, right? We're uncovering possibilities for you. You know what makes you truly happy. We're more clear on your why because you are connected to your values and who you are at your highest self. So next, you just want to work on the how. And that's where the system and process can come into place. And again, I invite you to think of creating a system or process, or please schedule a call with me and we can talk about how to make this happen for you, how to create those inspired next steps, because you don't want to be attached to the outcome. We want to have the system in place. And here's the key. You also want to be open enough to let the path unfold before you. So I always think of, you have your vision, you're clear on your values, your strengths, who you are, and you can have a strategic plan or these inspired next steps, but you also have to have room for the path to unfold before you. And if you veer off of your path or take a different action that's not aligned with an inspired next step, you're doing so mindfully and consciously, right? Not in an unconscious way. And that's what will fuel your next step, because you're coming from that place of clarity and with a plan. And that's when I really do think you get results with joy and you can be that happier high achiever. So with that, I just want you to know you are hopefully in an inspired place and you have many tools to support you. And I hope you can move forward without the overwhelm. And you have a choice at this point, right? You can apply what we've discussed for yourself. Hopefully the play sheets will help you. I'm actually going to give you another email tonight that will give you a link to a page that has all 5 recordings, as well as what I'm calling a playbook. It'll have all the play sheets there for you. It'll have my contact information at the end. And you can spend the weekend reviewing all of these. Actually, the videos will be up through Friday, so you'll have a week through September 27th to review anything. But I know it's a lot. And there's so much more I could have shared. As you know, it's going long sometimes. And I just want you to know you don't have to do this alone. It can help you to have some structure or some guidance. So please reach out if you'd like to book a call with me and we could just talk through what you've been uncovering. Again, I'll have the information. I'll put it in the chat. Here's a way to schedule it, but it'll be in the email as well. So here you can schedule a call with me. That's the scheduling link. And I want to share that I have a variety of ways that I can support you. I have private coaching, I have group coaching, I have an online version that you could do as a self-study. Plus, I've just added what I'm calling a done with you option, where we can actually help you create the roadmap and the structure to support you as you flow through your day to experience aligned success. And that would be in a half-day format. So that is an option as well. With that, please stay connected. Here's my website. I have various social media. There's my Instagram account, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And again, you'll have everything you need. And I really just hope that with a clear understanding of your journey, your season, your vision, your values, you can set goals that align with the whole you, right? And you're clear. And I'm so glad this was helpful. If you have any feedback, I'd love to hear that. So I am also including a link to a survey. If you want to share with me what has come up for you, this will be in the play sheet too. The first 3 people who share feedback get a coffee on me. So I just wanted to share that as well. All right, that is it. Take care, and I look forward to connecting